Well, I have to say I'm a little bit maybe like Rosalind Carter. I was kind of looking at that, watching that video, and I was pretty touched, and I thought I might start crying. So um, it is such a wonderful organization. And just to kind of give you a little bit of background on it as well, is I think I went down my first year with the perception that these houses are built and given to people, and that's not the case. They actually have to apply for a mortgage, just like the rest of us, and make house payments and that type of thing. But the thing that I thought that was really interesting this year is that they also explained to us too that they have to go through classes on how to manage money, or what happens if my furnace breaks, or those type of things that we all take for granted as homeowners now. That we're trying to pay it forward and teach others how to do that. And the other thing I thought was really interesting too, as Becky and I were kind of helping each other put stuff together for today, I didn't realize that it's all over the world too. It's not just Northern America or Canada, and it's all over actually the world. So there's lots of helping hands everywhere. This was my second year to do this, and it's very fun vacation time. It's not your typical let's lay at the beach and read a book type of thing, which is usually my favorite type of vacations. But it is so rewarding and so much fun to go and to have sore muscles at the end of the day and want to go to bed at 9:30 because you're so tired. But it's really just a lot about the fellowship as well. This year, Carolyn was unable to join us, but she asked us to consider some questions as we work through the week. And the question that I'm going to address today is how I saw God. At one of the meals that we shared, we kind of went around the room and we're talking about that one evening, and we all kind of shared what we really thought we saw God in that work that day. And I just keep resonating on that, because there is so many ways that we just see God every day that we kind of take for granted. So these may sound simple, but they really meant a lot to all of us. The first one was that Al and Ricardo, or the two site managers, and if you've ever been on a Habitat site, there's a lot of micromanaging and telling you what to do and what project needs to be done next, and they did it with grace and patience and energy, and I don't know where they got that every day, because they have to go every day, meet a new group of people, direct new people, and it could be from all walks of life, where I've never even held a paintbrush to I know how to put a sliding glass door in. So being able to manage, all those people on the work site is amazing. The one thing that I guess really comes to mind when I was thinking about them this week and doing this message is that Hebrews 13:16 states, I think we might have a slide there for you. And do not forget to do good and to share with others, for such sacrifices God is pleased. And these two do that every single day. I mean, we start at the work site with a prayer. They are so grateful. They say God bless when we leave, and just very grateful for our help each day. I can't imagine the jobs that they do every day, because there's days where my name Marcy is used so many times I can't even stand it. But they get to do that every day with new people. I get the same people, but I just hope and pray every day that they still find joy in that job, because I know it can be very trying every day when you're repeating yourself over and over again. And I hope that every day they hear the sounds of love with those hammers and just the talking and the community that they're creating amongst people. The second thing that I believe one of our team brought up was that we had two ladies working actually it was four ladies working next door one day, and they were all painting the outside of the house. Now, granted, it was a little warm that day, I have to tell you. The sun was beaming, and probably not my favorite thing to have been doing is painting primer on the outside of a house, but they were out there working and talking with each other, and one of our gardeners asked them about their experience, because I don't know if you know, with Habitat, you do have to put in X amount of hours into your house that you're getting to. And one of them found out that they asked if that was their house being built, and they said, no, it was my friend's house, because she had actually been helped by Habitat through Humanity, and she was telling her friend about it, and then she's gotten involved into that. So they were all there building that house together as well. And the one thing that reminded me again was Jimmy Carter states, Habitat has successfully removed the stigma of charity by substituting it with a sense of partnership. And I thought, what a perfect example here. She was helped, and then she's helping somebody else paying it forward, explaining the program to them. Teamwork was another thing that I really found. If you just kind of stood back some days and you just heard all the talking and heard the hammering or the with the, with the staple, or not the staple gun, but the nail gun or whatever it was so much fun because everybody was laughing and enjoying themselves. But it was amazing how we came together as a group of 20. We got out there, the first day we were supposed to put tie back, I think is what it's called, on this house, and we just boom, got it done. Then we had to put styrofoam on it, boom, it was done. And they were kind of like, now what are we going to give them to do? So next thing you know, we're hauling windows and putting in windows and doors and that type of thing. But it was just because it seemed like we were such a fine-tuned group of people and just communicated really well with each other. And that when you just stand back and listen to that, really makes your heart swell. And the last thing I have to tell you is that we did get to spend some time at the beach, so should you desire to go to Habitat, there is some beach time involved in that. But we had the opportunity every day to go to the beach afterwards, just kind of break down our day, and then we would stay till about 6:15, and we'd see the most amazing sunsets. So as Becky said, I think that evening when we were just talking about where we saw God every day, since we'd been there, and she just mentioned you can't get tired of looking at the sunsets. It's kind of like the portrait that God paints at the end of the day for us. So, you guys, I guess the thing I take away from this experience for me and passing it forward to you is that we can find God every day in everyday situations. So take a minute, think about it, and maybe be grateful in that feeling, and it'll just make your heart swell. And then also, too, you may find opportunities that you may be able to be kind to other people and help other people as well.
Garth Brooks spent Monday talking about his plans to play a concert at Notre Dame and spent today building a new home in Mishawaka, sort of. Mark Peterson is live in Mishawaka. And Mark, certainly Brooks not intending to live in the home.
You know, the home that is in Oklahoma. The Mishawaka home, that is a Habitat for Humanity home. It is not the first that Brooks and his wife Tricia Year would have built, and by all appearances, it won't be the last. It took a natural disaster to demonstrate it was a natural fit. Habitat for Humanity and the husband and wife team of Garth Brooks and Tricia Yearwood.
We started in New Orleans after Katrina, and we went to do some press and to swing a hammer for a minute, and we stayed all day. We had the best time.
Just 1 hour of doing this, and 1 hour I'll turn into 8 hours. One day I'll turn into 5, and it'll be a must you have to do the rest of your life. It's a dream.
They've been back every year since to swing hammers, to sign autographs, to get in tune with the heartbeat of the Habitat landscape.
Garth always says this is the sound of love, those hammers. That's what it is, and there's a spirit in those houses that just keeps them safe.
You know what they say about Habitat houses is where a carpenter will use but one nail, a Habitat house put about 8. And so when storms and everything hit, they seem to do just fine.
In Mishawaka, 23 homes are being built by about 2,000 volunteers this week as part of Habitat's Jimmy Carter work project.
It's pretty cool to have somebody that's been a world leader realize that love probably is the most powerful weapon that we have on this planet.
I think things like this remind us that there is a lot of good, and there are a lot of people here from all walks of life, all political affiliations, all religions. Everybody's together, working together out of love. It's possible.
People made a difference on the Habitat trip. I could go through each person, all 20 people that attended, but snow's coming and many of you might need to go buy your eggs, bread, and milk. So I'll just hit the highlights. Kathy Church made a delicious chicken dinner for us, and it was better than Church's chicken, I just have to say. Lynn Brodus, she always makes the orange rolls, and that's worth the price of admission right there, the orange rolls. So, every year they just get better. Bill Brown had a vision, and his vision was to create our new garden logo in the sand. And so it took many of us. We went to Walmart and bought Wilton food coloring and colored the sand. And strangers just kept coming up to us on the beach asking what it was, how we made it, where we're from, and there were many people from central Indiana. So we were able to share the garden experience with that. But what I really want to highlight is the group of women that I worked with. And I worked with Marcy and Lisa and Bevan and Wendy. And with Lisa's instruction, we were able to use a table saw, a circular saw, and a pneumatic hammer. Now, I don't know if you've ever used a pneumatic hammer, but it is a little bit scary, but it was very fun. So we built that house. We commented on how particular women might be versus men, but we won't go into that. But it was a very nice experience for us to be able to use power tools. So we became empowered by using power tools. Now, if you look at Proverbs 31:17, it says, she is energetic, she's strong, and a hard worker. Okay, so if you look up there, you can see Bev is energetic and yeah. So anyway, we were so energetic and hardworking that at night we had to take a leave. It was rough. We went to bed early, but we were also serving and having fellowship with one another. So in closing, I want to say we left the Habitat home. We did our share of building, but we left as changed women. We were empowered women. And empowered women empower other women. Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to start with a shameless plug, and then I'm going to talk about a little bit about how this trip changed me, how God changed me on this trip, and then finish with another little plug, okay? 3 things. And I'm going to start my clock. Okay. How many people would say they're micromanagers? They like to know what's happening. They like to have some control over what's happening. You can raise your hand, and we're just going to sit here until I see more hands, because I know that's most of us, right? Okay, so one of the hardest things for me about my faith journey is to let go of some of that control. And if you don't make that room, it's difficult for God to come and wiggle in and create some space and take you where you need to be, right? But it's awful hard to let go of that. Well, on this trip, Marcy talked a little bit about the Habitat volunteers. The folks that are on those job sites every day, they're responsible for that job site. They're responsible for getting the work done. They're managing the folks that are going to receive Habitat houses. They're keeping track of their hours that those folks come and volunteer. It's something like 300 and 350 hours that each Habitat homeowner has to put in before they get their own house. And they do that on everybody's houses. Anyway, so these guys, in this case, 2 guys at our sites, we had a neighborhood of a bunch of houses that Habitat was doing. We worked on 6 different houses in every stage, from framing them in all the way to cleaning them up and getting ready for the homeowner to take over. These folks deal, as Marcy and Becky said, they deal with us, in this case our 20 folks from the garden, come walking in. Some folks know how to paint, some folks know how to clean, some people have built houses, a whole range of things. But we don't know how they're building these houses. We don't know what needs to be done, when it needs to be done, who's doing what. And so I was just floored every day that, and Alan is the guy that I worked with mostly, that this guy's got all this responsibility. He's got this crew that, we don't know what we're doing, right? We really don't know. And so here's that plug. You don't have to know what you're doing. Come join us on this trip next year. It's fantastic, everything about it. You don't have to know what you're doing. And many times we didn't know what we were doing. And many times we'd ask multiple times of what we were supposed to be doing. As Marcy and Becky said, we got ahead of the game. We got stuff done faster, and so they had to keep coming up with more stuff for us to do, all according to their schedules of getting things done. So to me, it was just stunning, and I talked with Alan several times about this, that he could have the vision of what needs to get done, and just trust in God that us lackeys that showed up with, limited skills and, limited tools, that we could figure out how to do it and do it right. And we're not talking about just, putting up 2x4s and maybe drywall, that kind of stuff. We're putting in windows, we're putting in doors, we're doing all the groundwork for this house. That's the stuff that keeps the wind and the rain out, and, it's building the house. So to me, and Alan shared that, to him it's very fulfilling that he gets to do this work and see God at work in the people all around him every day, and that's what motivates him. And so to me, that what changed is that I'm seeing that that's really important for me to do in my routine as well, is to leave some things out there to hang and let other people come and grow in that space, and to listen for God in the time that's created. So anyway, we had a fantastic time. Second plug, which is the third of the triumvirate, the second plug is that as we had so much fun down there, we realized some people really can't take off in the middle of winter and spend a week down in Florida. But we can have that same experience in Indianapolis, right here. So we're hoping that we can get this organized this fall to do a habitat build somewhere in the Indianapolis surrounding counties area. And so keep your ears open, because that obviously would allow many more people to come and join us, and you will love it. It doesn't have a beach if you're in Indianapolis, and that was really good, but it's just so fulfilling. The whole process is very fulfilling for all of us, no matter what your skills. It's just absolutely wonderful. So some evidence of how much fun it is, and I've not seen this all the way through, so I don't know how self-incriminating this is, but we have some pictures. They have a little video segment that we're going to roll now.
are out of nails.
If you went on the Habitat trip, can you please stand just briefly if you're here? These are the folks who have gone out in the world to make a difference. And if you have an interest, any interest at all in Habitat, these are the people that you come and talk to, because their lives and hearts have been forever changed through the gift of Habitat. So if you've ever been on a Habitat trip, go ahead and stand, because we really would love, people are changed by this experience. So look around the room and let your community know that you are part of this. So great, thank you. All right, I'm going to do the closing, but I really want to encourage you all to stay for communion today. We need it. The garden needs it. We need to share in a meal together as a family today. So if you're visiting, I'm really glad you're here, because if you watch the news at all this week, the United Methodist Church is not united. We are divided. And we need to come together as a community of faith right now and be mindful of really who we are and whose we are. So I'm going to do the benediction, but if you're willing to stay for communion, know that this is the feast. This is what we need for the journey. This is what we need to build community and to let the world know that God loves everyone just as they are. And we need to start coming together, not only building our community, but bringing voice to the voiceless and bringing hope and love to the world. So go now in peace, and may the love of God be yours, or stay and share in communion. So for those of you who did not hear, the United Methodist Church's vote this week was 53% of the community opted and asked that the church maintain the traditional model, which, as we talked about last week, is a model that is exclusive and leaves people out. 20 years ago, I was not ordained United Methodist for this very reason, and today I will not stand and say that it's okay either. So I give God thanks for each and every one of you and your willingness to share in building a new community of hope and love for all of God's children. You know, we've been trying to do this for a while, and one of the ways we've been doing it is with gluten-free bread, which has been a challenge. But today we have gluten-free bread that we have found that actually was sliced. And I think it is kind of ironic because we were sliced this week. We were sliced as a community, but we were able to not only slice it, but be mindful that we're all individuals. So each one of these pieces represent each and every one of us. And we know if we come together as a community of faith that loves all of God's children, we can and will transform this world. So our denomination may be divided, but we as a congregation are united. And this is the feast we need to move forth on this journey of faith, hope, and love. This is the feast we need that will give us the energy we need to say, God loves everyone. So as you share in this feast today, I would ask you to not only ask God to take whatever sins you have within you, because I have lots of thoughts right now about people that I need to really get out of my head and heart. And ask God to open our hearts and minds so that we can create a community of love for all of God's children, even those who disagree with us. Now, with that said, we are not going to say that it is okay to say that the Bible and Jesus keeps anybody out. Those people are wrong. That is a wrong interpretation of your Bible. I'm sorry, but it's true. So today, fill your hearts with love. Fill your hearts with what is needed to share in the transformation of the world where all people know God's love. And we will build a community of faith, hope, and love. And we don't need a building. We need hearts, we need minds, we need people to share the unconditional love of God. This feast is a feast given to us by Jesus. Jesus says, whoever eats of this will never hunger nor thirst again. Well, that is a meal for you and for me. We're going to share in this feast by intinction, which means you're invited to take a piece of bread, dip it into the cup, partake, and then let's see what kind of, well, just go back to your seats, because so many of you stayed today. I'm not sure we have time for, I don't know, we'll figure it out. Do whatever you want to do, as long as it's build up God's community of faith, hope, and love. So what we're going to do is we're going to share in this feast after you take your communion. Just go and find a place to stand in community together. So all those who have gathered here are invited to partake in this feast. You need not be a member of this church, of the Divided United Methodist Church, of any church at all. You need only believe that God loves all children and that God seeks forgiveness, grace, love, and light for all of us. So we invite you forth now to share in the Feast of Holy Communion.